Hiya guys, it's Mr. Hagen, and today I'm at a hidden gem, the Olmsted Beil house, with my friend Tina Kaasman Dunn. She's a Staten Island historian and board member of the Friends of the Olmsted Beil house. Hello, Tina.
How are you?
Very good, thank
Good
you.
to see you come here. We're glad to show the place off. It's kind of hidden. Nobody knows where it is, even though it has a Highland Boulevard address. Nobody can ever find it.
You all now know.
It's a secret.
So terrific. Do we take a walk and take a look?
So the first thing we'll notice, Frederick Law Olmsted, the landscape architect, was probably the most famous person that lived here. And he came here in 1848, and he planted trees. And some of the trees that he planted are still here, still blooming, still producing.
Wow.
One of them is right here. This is a large ginkgo tree.
It's a very large tree.
Very large. And there are two cedar of Lebanon. There's a walnut. There's a horse chestnut. And then we have the Osage orange trees, which they're not in bloom yet.
Now, why would Frederick Law Olmsted plant trees on his property?
He didn't know what to do with his life. He tried a whole bunch of different things. Didn't work out. He decided he wanted to be in landscaping and planting and selling trees and plants. So his father bought him this place, 125 acres,
Wow.
from Amboy Road all the way to the beach. And he came here and he planted trees, and he also bought small saplings and then would sell them. He'd take them to his dock down the beach and ship them to New York City. And he did very well for himself.
Wow.
And he liked that.
Make money selling trees. I like that.
Selling trees, he planted vegetables. He wanted to see what would grow here.
Uh-huh.
And so what he did here paved the way for what he did with his life that made him so famous, Central Park. It all started right here in Eltingville, Staten Island.
So, let me get this right. Frederick Law Olmsted created Central Park?
Frederick Law Olmsted was, along with a partner, designed and supervised the building of Central Park in New York.
Why?
In the early 1850s.
Fabulous.
It was a contest, and they put together a plan how to do it, and they won the contest.
Very nice.
And he went on to, that started him, that made him world famous. He did many parks, from Maine to California. After he died, his sons took over, and they continued it for another generation.
Now, can we see any of his work here on Staten Island, beside the Tree of Lebanon?
Good question. He planted some trees by the Sagayan Mansion. There's supposed to be a tree in Clove Lake Park that we think he had something to do with.
Nice.
And then he went on to Prospect Park in Brooklyn and
Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt. He was rubbing elbows with all the swells now, because he was a very important guy.
The swells, you mean the wealthy
The
people?
wealthy people. So the Vanderbilts were the wealthiest people
For sure.
for sure. And they had just built a mausoleum in behind Moravian Cemetery for when their father had died, and they wanted to build this big mausoleum. And they asked Olmsted if he would landscape it, and he did. And after he did that, he got many other jobs from that.
Sure.
And that's all still there. That you can see that. Well, you can't really see it. It's kind of off limits.
Locked away.
But it's all still there.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Terrific. So how about this beautiful home? What's left of this beautiful home?
It looks a little forlorn now because it's missing its porch. We had a wraparound porch, and that will all be put back on. We're just in the beginning stages of its restoration. It was built in about four different times of the centuries. The very first part was built in the late 1600s, and that was a little part of the basement. And then another family came, the Puljans, and they built the stone part, that first floor that you see.
Yeah.
That's stone. And they lived here for about 100 years. And then Dr. Akerley came, and he built the second floor. And he built the kitchen. And he put a big porch on it. The Puljans had put a small porch just on the front. Akerley comes, puts a second story on it, the second story, and he built a porch all the way around it.
That reminds me of the conference house. We just learned about the conference house, and that too was built in the 1600s, but then added on to later on.
This house and the conference house, almost the exact same time they were built.
Terrific.
It's very interesting. There's a good connection between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Olmsted comes in 1848. He actually built the third story, those little tiny windows up there, and he changed the roof line. And after that, that was the end of the building until in the 1880s, Erastus Wyman, another very important Staten Islander, a mover and a shaker, an entrepreneur, another fellow with money. He bought the place.
Okay.
And he wanted to make it into an inn where people could come and stay and watch plays on the front lawn.
Very nice.
So he made the porch, which was only 5 feet wide, he made it twice as wide. He made a wide porch on 3 sides. And that's the porch that I remember growing up. We used to ride our tricycles around it.
Uh-huh.
And there are 2 doors, one door on each side, and we would ride our tricycles around, and the lady who lived here, Mrs. Beil, would open the door. We'd ride our tricycles through the house, out back on this side, and go around again, and go around and around and around. It was so much fun.
Now, you mentioned Mrs. Beil. Can you share a little of the history of Carlton Beil?
Carlton Beil. So that's the family that I knew. They're the last people to own this house before it was turned over to the Parks Department. Carlton Beil was a naturalist. He knew everything about plants and trees and nature and Indians. If you had any question about nature, you'd go to Mr. Beil. If you found a baby bird, you'd go to Mr. Beil. He would tell you, leave it alone, it's probably going to die.
Yeah.
Because it needs its mother. But he knew everything, and he worked for the Museum of Natural History, and he would bring home a lot of different rocks and samples and plaster cast of a dinosaur footprint. And his 3 daughters are all working in the museums
Wonderful.
now. They took right after him.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Nice way to honor their father.
Yes. He was a great guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he loved the house, and he loved the history of it.
And how about the Woodworking Association?
He was a wood crafter, and I don't know if he started that or not. Do you know if he started
I
it?
believe he did,
Okay.
at least on Staten Island.
Yes, and I know that there are 2 little chairs from that group that we're hoping to get someday that will be put back in the house to honor that part of his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But they were here for many years. They came here in the 60s, and they sold it to the Parks Department in 2000. I don't know, 2010 or so. So they were here for a long time.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So that's very nice that the City Parks Department acknowledges 350 years of Staten Island history here at the Carlton Beil House.
Absolutely.
The Olmsted Beil
Olmsted
House.
Beil House.
Sorry, Frederick. Yeah, and that they should work to preserve this and make it available for the public. It's very nice. I appreciate the work that you're doing here, the Friends of Olmsted Beil are doing here. This is a treasure here on the South Shore of Staten Island. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Tina.